Um, I just want to say thank you to all of the workers who provided comment regarding Rachi this morning. I know the fact that they've been referred to criminal charges kind of adds gravity to what we were already saying. Thank you especially to Tara. The FOIA requests are what keep the government honest, and I learned something new, and I consider myself pretty well informed about this. I already, prior to this meeting, have tasked our legal team with seeing what our options are for this. Obviously, we have to strike the balance between what we can do legally and what we should do, which is right. But we are working on it, and we will be addressing this. So thank you guys again. I stand behind you guys entirely on this.
Commissioner Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to revert back to a comment made by you, Commissioner Jones. There are other of us that also are looking at options legally. I would say that a statement I'd like to make is at least two of us, maybe three of us, are looking at options as what we can or can't do on situations. I don't, I think it's as far as the team aspects go, you're not the only one. You know, having said that, the discussion of this contractor issue that we have going on right now, I'd like to ask a field a question or two. And when I do this under commissioner reports, the president can gavel me at any time. You guys, everybody needs to know if he's ready. Let me just hit with the general contracting law. Can we modify an existing contract, such as the one we have with a particular company, and put a qualifier in there that says going forward or on our job site? You know, if there's any violations that occur on our job site, it would accelerate or exacerbate or trigger, excuse me, a disciplinary or a contractual change, an obligation. In other words, can it be done with the voluntary consent of the contractor, or do we have the letter of the contract able to say, look, come to work on our property, we'd like to add on something that says if you do anything, something happens on our site during our watch, that we have some recourse right then and there, because before you answer that, I got to make a statement. And here's my statement, is that we have to be very careful here at the port-of-longview, Mr. President, that we can't have trial by social media. We can't have trial by newspaper. In fact, we really can't have trial. That's a very tricky situation for us. This has been brought up to, there's a lot of people that have very elevated concerns on this, and I think a lot of us share those concerns. I think there's a path, maybe there's a compromise path. I don't know, but a lot of us are still asking questions. And so I just asked a question, Mr. President. It said just that, can in fact, and this is not necessarily fair. This is why I can get gavel. This is that surprise clause, you know, when you jump out of the bushes. So we do have counsel here, and I can't put you on the spot, but maybe for future discussion, is that something that we can do? Whether it's mutually agreed between the us and say a contractor, or can we just legally do that and keep it within our purview that we know we have control? Because frankly, there's so many things that are not in our control. I wish that there were. But we just can't make things up as we go either. Is there any way you can comment on that, Mr. President, to Mrs. Counsel here?
Well, I'm not able to comment on the specific issues before you with the contractor, but we can certainly look into that for future contracting and public works. And I mean, I imagine there's protections in these construction contracts already for the port, but we can certainly look at those to see if they need to be revised for future projects.
When I may be speaking as a specific amendment or a codicil or some form of a mutually agreed deal, because I know that it's a very big topic right now. You almost can't go anywhere, in at least in Port-of-Longview's 3 districts that we represent, that it's not a topic. So maybe there's a comment. Maybe we'll do a little homework in there, because I certainly would be open to an agreement of a performance standard outside of an existing WAC, because what I'm looking for is a course of conduct that really sets a record that safety is paramount. Of course, I heard from one of the constituents this morning. I don't want the fear to be so set to the point where another contractor would have reservations about being next to another contractor. I mean, that's a fair concern, but is there a balance that we can do that says, because we cannot control other things that we cannot control. And as I look to my left out there, that $44 million project, that's on our real estate. That's under our watch. So maybe if there's something we can explore on that it's a good faith thing. I'm just looking for something good faith that would say, something intentional, willful happens under our watch. Because the criteria going into this didn't cover that. And maybe we're going new ground. I'm certainly not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. But I have a legislative background, and so I'm curious of going forward if we can maybe open the door for a compromise between two willing parties that will set that standard very high, and therefore it sets that standard that there's a procedure if something were to go awry. So that's not done with my report, and maybe we'll get back. Mr. Stahl, do you have a comment on that?
Thank you, Commissioner. Neither am I an attorney, but I've heard what you said. Staff continues to follow this issue, and will develop options for the commissioners to look at and evaluate and see if there is an interest in moving something forward.
Well, I'm going to expect that. Thank you, Mr. Stahl. It's one of the three I'm going to go on record of expecting that we do get something back to us. What I'm looking for, and the other two commissioners certainly can outweigh me at any time. I've manhandled my commissioner report time. Something specific going forward. Two willing parties that at the very least will address something going forward on our property that can bring up some levels of assurance. We have no ability, and we're not party in any way, shape, or form to any potential litigation. And in fact, the things still remain in America that are American. And one of them is you're still always innocent until proven guilty, kind of on a general aspect. So I'm looking for a compromise going forward that will give assurances, see if there's even options to do that. And I don't want to discuss this later this year, Mr. Stahl. I want to discuss this at the very next meeting. But that's me, and it's not in the form. We don't need a motion to do this. We can say, can you go to work? I think we have a great team, and if not, we can expand that. We can seek, an expertise, and I think that'll give assurances going forward. Because I'm certainly willing to look at a way that says not under our watch. I think that would be fair. It's a start, and I think a start is better than a conclusion.
Addressing the issue with you folks in the audience, I share your concerns. What you bring to the table here is obviously very serious, things that we've discussed previously. So it's all out there. So we'll address it in our executive session here with potential litigation, and look forward to discussing it again in the future. So we hear you. You're not being ignored, certainly, and we appreciate your comments. And I would really want to express my respect for you folks to take the time to come here this morning. And most of you were here by 9 o'clock. And I appreciate the fact that you were here and available to address the commission. And I really do value your input here. And as a commission, that's what we're all about, is to listening to our constituents. So thank you so much for that.